I promised I was going to show you a little something that I don't talk about too often. Some of you might have heard me talk about this before, what we call the Hardaway crossover. This is a pretty rare. This doesn't happen too often, and it's hard to take advantage of. But it is something that I've observed a number of years ago and been trying to perfect using it, avoiding having missing a decent stock that gets me knocked out because of this phenomenon, if you will. So the Hardaway crossover is named after a basketball player, which some of you are into sports, you would know immediately, Tim Hardaway, who used to had a mean crossover. He'd go left and then turn right and go right and just blow right by you. It was really quite amazing how he can just shake and bake people right out of their shoes. And that's what happens with some of these stocks where they'll break out. So this is, again, a really nice VCP where you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It gets real tight in here, right? So now it comes out, and sometimes they'll come out strong. It doesn't have to be a little feeble breakout like this to have a Hardaway crossover. It could be a strong breakout. But what will happen is you get stopped. It'll come, and this is usually the stock will go below the low in the pivot, and a lot of people will put their stops. I put my stops a lot of times at the low of the pivot, and that's where you'll suck in a bunch of quick short-term traders and stop them out, and you'll get a shakeout below that pivot. But once everybody's knocked out, which only takes sometimes a day or two, the stock just turns around and just rips back higher. Very often what will happen is the stock will rip higher, which I call a slingshot. And slingshots are very hard to take advantage of because they get extended and you're buying an extended stock. So I kept watching these Hardaway crossovers. They would cross over, they would shake and bake me out. They'd come back with a slingshot, boom, into high ground. It's extended, and I would never be able to buy it. And then it's just, the stock's gone. And I was in the stock a couple of days earlier, a week or two earlier, and now I'm knocked out of the damn thing and it's taken off. So I was trying to figure out, how do I get on board these without getting an extended stock? One of the ways is sometimes what they'll do is they'll run up like this, and then they'll pull back for a couple of days and pull back to the breakout and give you a pullback buy, or and in some instances you'll get a reversal, and then you get we're talking about the reversal recovery. This is pretty much everything all at once, where you get the pullback buy, then it recovers, you get the reversal recovery, you get the Hardaway crossover. It's just everything's all happening, all in chronological order here. So how I would play this is, so I buy here, I get knocked out here. It comes ripping back, great sign, right? Pulls back. Now right here, as it starts turning up and takes out that high right there, I'm getting back in. I'm coming back in and sorry. Sorry. So another way to play this is where you might reduce here. All right. Maybe you have a little bit bigger stop, and you have a staggered stop where maybe part of your stop is below this pivot and you have another part of it at a mathematical number. So below the pivot is 4 or 5%, and maybe you have the other half at 7, 8, 9, 10%. Well, you only got stopped out on half. So now when it comes back, it sets this up. You have yourself, you add back. So that's the Hardaway crossover. I'm not going to get into this, too much. We're not going to show a bunch of examples. I just wanted to show you that, and you can.
Yeah, I would just add that when you get an undercut, and you can see that's an undercut of a couple of weeks, that you want that undercut, you want the stock to come back very quickly, because you want to see that there's demand there. If it stays under that whole base, or under that red line there for more than 2, 3, 4 days, then it's probably not an undercut, and you've probably got a downtrend or just a sideways choppy movement. But the best undercuts, they come down, they undercut just for intraday, and then it turns and it gets back up into that base, and then the next day it moves higher. So when you do get a shakeout, or I call it an undercut, you want it to happen fast, because you want to see that there's demand at that price to push it back up very quickly.
And that's a fantastic point and tip, and goes with all undercuts, all shakeouts. If you're shaking out the low of the base, you're shaking out the right side in a handle, or below the pivot. The whole idea is that last little move down, that last move that undercuts that low, is those last weak holders. All right. I don't know if I said this before, but we're weak holders. When you are using a tight stop, you're a weak holder. An institution is a strong holder. They're adding. Stock comes down, they're adding to it. They're buying weakness. We're not buying weakness. We're getting out. We're protecting ourselves. So we're weak holders. We could be knocked out very easily. So that's why our timing has to be impeccable. See, this is the advantage over the institution. The institution can't time the way we can time the trades. We can get in there and say, okay, it's going, boom, get in. Oh, that didn't work, out. Oh, wait a minute, it's turning back up, back in again. The institution can't do that. They can't take and move 1 million shares like that. We can move our couple thousand shares or 500 shares or even 10, 20,000 shares, even a relatively large amount of stock you can move. But like I said, to an institution, that's nothing. So when you get that shakeout, the whole concept is that wrung the last bit of water out. That's how you know whether you got that last bit of water out, is it comes boom, ripping right back. And that's why you would buy it on a pullback as it starts turning back up. If it comes ripping back and you get the slingshot, that's telling you that was a shakeout. That was the last shakeout before this stock is ready to go. So again, this is definitely getting advanced now, and these are subtleties, a lot of subtleties.
But I really like shakeouts because undercut shakeouts, because it just, as you said, it takes out the weak holders, and it just gives me confidence that this stock is probably going to, if it starts moving out and it moves out on good volume, it tells me that they're just really strong holders, and this thing might make a great move. So it doesn't happen all that, that often, right? Especially right before a move. Sometimes it happens lower in a base. Like on this situation, it might have actually, I've seen them where they come back down below 70, where that prior low is, undercut that, and then start turning and completing a base. But no matter where it happens, it's great if they go down fast and they come right back up very quickly. And as you said, in strong hands is where that stock's at now.
Yep. Great point. So just want to show you here before we wrap up on this little section here. This was a stock, and this was way back when I was using Telescan 2000 back in the 90s. This was one that I bought that had you can see a little pattern right here, a little cup with handle pattern. It comes out and it had a little squat, right? And then you had the reversal recovery. You had tennis ball action. Everything just played out perfect. This actually had, everything was a natural reaction. Look, a little natural reaction back in there. I'm going to show you how long you can have natural reactions and just hold up and hold up. And right here, I actually sold right over here, was on June 14th of 96. You can't see it here because I don't have it. I don't have a moving average in here, but that was actually a close below the 50-day moving average. This just held the 50-day moving average the entire time. And then finally, when it closed below it, that's where I sold it. So this, again, this goes all the way back. I've been doing this, and Dave's been doing it much longer than me, and his examples go back into the 80s. Mine go back to the late 80s, and yours probably go back into the early 80s. And then of course O'Neill was doing similar trading going back, and he goes all the way back to the 60s. And then we had Love wrote the book that inspired O'Neill, and William Giller. That's where the cup with handle came from William Giller's Saucer and Platform, and the quantitative work of doing factor analysis, factor modeling, that came from Love, super performance stocks. That's where O'Neill got it from. And then we all go back to, Jesse Livermore was doing this stuff by reading ticker tapes and using pivot points and what we're doing with a ticker sense, they call it, or ticker feel. So I just included, I always like to see this. It's just kind of cool. This is the actual ticket. You would get the confirmed tickets, and this was my position here. I bought 1,000 shares. was AccuStaff, 24 3/4. Of course, I think here it's adjusted for splits, right? Yeah. So this wasn't trading at $4. Just like I said before, all these stocks that you're seeing, some of them are showing they're like trading at 3 cents. They weren't trading at 3 cents then. They're adjusted for splits. But this is the real time ticket. This was the real ticket that matter of fact, I have from the 90s, I have stacks and stacks of these. I saved them all. So I have all these stacks of these tickets of all the trades. You can see right here, the commission was $29 total. That was deep discount commissions. Like that's why I went to Pacific Brokerage. They were the only one. The next best commission at this particular time was Oldie Discount. Ernie Oldie started Oldie Discount, and he had $60 a trade. And then when that came out, we thought that was, wow, $60 a trade. We could trade now, and a friend of mine said, I just opened an account when I've been using it and they're great. It's called Pacific Brokerage, and they're $25 a trade. So I switched over to there. Anyway, so
Yeah,
we are
Mark,
going to wrap this up. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, go back to that chart. I mean, this is one thing you didn't point out. If you look right before the cheat, there was actually a shakeout. There was an undercut. Yeah, yes, there you go, right there. And it undercut not only that base, it went all the way back to the prior sort of looks like a cup and handle.
Yeah.
And went all, and see, then it one day down, and it started coming right back up, formed a new base, and then took off again.
Yeah,
I was also in this. I also bought this stock. I know it.
Yeah, this was I was actually around this. I think I was an O'Neill client at this time. I was an O'Neill client for a while back in the day. But I remember I couldn't afford his full service. Like I didn't have the Nesme list and all that stuff. So I paid. I remember I had I don't know. Do you remember Patricia Jones? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Patricia Jones was my sales rep, and she pitched me on the whole thing with all the the big data books and everything. And I said, I can't afford that. I'm a private trader, but I wanted to get the O'Neill work, and so I just got O'Neill's memos. But I would get like sort of some of the marketing. And I remember you guys showed that this was one of your big winners. But now this stock here too, right here, you see, you got a real tight entry right here. This actually set up a primary base, but I just had not seen it yet. This didn't get on my radar until over here, and then when I finally saw it, then I traded over here. But I never even had it on my radar over here. Okay, so I don't know. Do you have anything to add, Dave, before we wrap up this section?
No, that's it.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. And then we're going to come back with a very important section, and that is how to identify a top and looking for specific sell rules. We've covered quite a bit, and we've got quite a bit to go. So take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll get back to with selling rules. We've been doing a lot on buying. Pretty much everything we've talked about has been buying, and now we're going to start talking about selling and nailing down profits and some sell rules for taking care of those stocks that actually work out on the upside. Okay, so we'll see in a little bit.